let's go over to Michigan because they end up getting a 34-17 win over New Mexico in Bryce Underwood's first ever start at the Big House. I thought Bryce Underwood looked really good in this game. I thought Bryce Underwood made the throws he needed to make. Bryce Underwood did not make mistakes or did not make the big mistake in this game, which is obviously extremely important because when you talk about the other young quarterbacks making the first start in their college career around the country, like we're talking about Arch Manning. Like he wasn't great. Julian Sayin, was he great? No. Do I think Bryce Underwood was better than both of those in their first game? Yeah, I truly think so. And I think Bryce Underwood showed his potential and obviously showed off his arm strength in this game. He was just zipping that ball all over the field. He was able to get that ball to his wide receivers, to his tight ends. Martin Klein, great tight end. He had 6 receptions, 93 yards, 1 touchdown. Samaj Morgan was involved. Now, he did have a punt return fumble, muff punt, which obviously isn't really great. Now, they did receive it back, but overall, you really can't be too upset. And then you have Donovan McCulley, which is going to be their wide receiver number 1 for a lot of these fans. 4 receptions, 31 yards. I thought the wide receivers for Michigan and tight ends looked pretty good. With that being said, the biggest issue for this wide receiver room, especially in week 1, was drops. There were several times where Bryce Underwood made a really great play, extended a play, threw it right to his wide receiver, and completely dropped it. Now, again, with Bryce Underwood, he has a ton of arm strength. I don't know if that's necessarily a factor in that. That's going to be something that Michigan's going to have to work on. That's something that Michigan's going to have to focus on because when you play some of these better opponents, especially Oklahoma this upcoming week, you cannot afford drops on first downs. You cannot afford these type of mistakes. Now, again, when you have a team like New Mexico that heading into this game I thought would be good offensively, especially because of Coach Eck having that history of being good offensively, and I thought they were pretty good offensively in this game. I'll talk about that against Michigan defense here shortly, but this New Mexico defense, while they give a ton of effort, do I think they're going to be the best defense that this Michigan team has faced? No, I don't think that's going to be anywhere close to the best defense that this Michigan team is going to face. Now, I think they made some great plays. I think they caused some pressure on Bryce Underwood. And I think Bryce Underwood as a whole was really good throughout that pressure. But Michigan was able to get big plays in the game. And there were some turnovers in this game. But when they were able to get big plays, especially on the ground, because Justice Haynes was absolutely fantastic in this game. 16 carries, 159 yards, 3 touchdowns. I think he's everything that Michigan fans thought he was going to be. I thought he was causing havoc to this New Mexico defense. Jordan Marshall, also a guy that I thought was pretty good in this game. Didn't have a ton of yards per carry, but he's not supposed to be that kind of guy. He's supposed to be the big, tough, running wide receiver. He's supposed to get you the short yard situation. Justice Haynes is the guy that's supposed to be making the big runs, making the big breaks, and he exactly did that in this game. I was really impressed with Justice Haynes. I was impressed with this offensive line. I was pretty impressed with this Michigan offense. Now, I do think they have a ways to go. I do think that they can be better. What's going to happen if Justice Haynes doesn't get those long runs? That's a real question mark, and I think that's going to be something that I'm going to talk about later this week. But I think offensively, if you're a Michigan fan, I think you have to be pretty happy with this performance on the offensive side. And if you're a New Mexico fan listening to this, this is a really good run offense. It's always going to be a really good run offense. Offensive line is always going to be really good. Justice Haynes is a really good running back. So I don't really think you can be too upset at this game because this was going to be, in my opinion, never a game that you were going to win at the Big House, even though I think that New Mexico had a chance to make this a little bit closer and to really convert on some opportunities that they had. I thought that New Mexico could have made this a little bit more interesting than 17 points. I think it could have been maybe a single-digit type game, maybe 10 points type game. I think that Jack Lane had some opportunities in this game Now, he did throw 3 interceptions, which obviously is not going to help them out, but I thought that he overall looked pretty good, especially against a Michigan defense that is going to be, again, really good, especially stopping the run, and that's exactly what they were in this game. They were able to really stop Scottrade Humphrey, 33 yards on the ground, 3.3 yards per average. Like, no one's going to be able to really run against this Michigan defense. Like, not New Mexico, maybe not until later on, maybe not until some of these better teams come into the big house or go on the road. But I thought New Mexico did a pretty good job of attacking Michigan's secondary. And if you really have to think about one weakness on this Michigan defense, I think the secondary really showed that it could be that. Now, again, it's week 1. We don't know exactly how the secondary is going to look like, but Coach Eck was able to attack this secondary when they were able to have time. Now, the key word is have time, right? Like, Michigan doesn't usually give quarterbacks a ton of time just because of how much pressure they can force or how much they can get to the quarterback. But when Jack Lane was able to have time, he was able to hit guys like Dorian Thomas, 10 receptions, 71 yards, 2 touchdowns. Michael Buckley, 2 receptions, 45 yards. Keegan Johnson, 7 receptions, 38 yards. He was able to get it to his wide receiver. I think that's going to be something that Michigan fans and fans across the country are going to continue to focus on, is that secondary, because now they're going to go up against Oklahoma. And we know how good Oklahoma's QB is. We know how good Oklahoma's wide receiver room is. And I think that's going to be the biggest test this Michigan team has, is what are they going to do through the secondary? Are they going to be able to stop the pass? Are they going to be able to get to the quarterback enough? And I think that's exactly what they did in this game. They were able to get to the quarterback enough. They were able to get their hands in the way of the ball. They were able to tip the ball. At least 1 interception came because of that. I believe 2 even came because of that. If that pressure is not there, are they going to be able to force those turnovers? Is the secondary going to be better? Don't necessarily know the answer to that. But in this game alone, Michigan secondary was good enough. Their defensive line was able to get enough pressure. They were able to get this win, and they are able to get a 17 win at home in Bryce Underwood's first career start at Michigan, which, again, I said at the beginning, I thought he looked good. I thought he was composed. I thought he was able to make plays with his legs. I think you really saw everything that he needed to do in game number 1, which is the most important, because he needs to keep the ball safe. And he was able to do that. And it's all about the wide receivers making plays. It's about the wide receivers making catches. If they can do that, if they can keep Bryce Underwood safe, if they don't allow a ton of pressure on him, if they allow him to use his legs, this offense with better wide receivers can get better and be better. And it really starts with wide receivers getting better by catching the ball. You cannot be dropping the ball as college wide receivers. If this is going to be an issue throughout the season, that could really impact what this offense does. It's game number 1. We don't know exactly what they're going to do, but you have guys like Donovan McCulley. You have guys like Klein. You have pieces in this wide receiver, this tight end room, that you can be good enough. And if Justice Haynes can continue to do what he did at New Mexico, I think this is going to be a Michigan offense that is going to be much improved, and is a big reason why they end up winning this game against New Mexico. So, yeah, that's really my recap of Michigan and Michigan State. I thought there were some positive and negative things from both sides. I think Michigan maybe has a little bit more stuff that they can handle right away. I think drops you can fix pretty easily. I think Michigan State has a little bit more to go, especially offensively. I do think if they're not as conservative in the second half, I do think that's going to help. But I think both of these sides should have good things to come out of these games. And they're both 1-0, which is exactly where you want to be at this point. Both of these teams are going to be going up against better opponents this week. Michigan State against Boston College. Michigan against Oklahoma. Obviously, Oklahoma is going to be a better team. That's College game day. I'll talk about that coming up. But both of these teams need to be better in their second games to win. And I think both of these coaches' staff agree and realize that is the case. So both 1-0, both great starts to the year, both fun games. And yeah, that is a wrap to episode number 482. I'll definitely preview Michigan State, Boston College, Michigan, Oklahoma and the rest of the college games in later episodes and previews. But thanks for tuning in, and tune in to the next episode.